buddy?
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful, if maybe a little too hot, Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
A podcast exploring religion, politics, and current events from two atheists just trying to survive life in these United States.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And boy, am I Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, we're going to be talking about some crybaby Christians. And, the Olympics made them so sad. The opening ceremonies made them so sad.
Yeah, we've all heard a lot about that dumb moment and everything. But it's the response that's the thing.
Oh, God, it's amazing.
And then it's the response to the response.
And we're going to be responding to that.
Yeah. I don't know how many layers deep we're going. It's Inception, for sure.
Just a little Russian, one of those little Russian doll things. Oh, there's a new one. Oh, hey, there's a smaller. Oh, there's another one. All right, Dan. Well, first we got some stories, some news of the week, things that happened.
Yeah.
We just have to slog through. Everybody, just hold on. Hold on, people.
Brace yourselves.
I want to start, Dan, with the story of Monsignor Jeffrey Burrell.
Yeah, do we love him?
Yeah, he was the top administrator of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. So kind of a big deal.
That sounds important.
Yeah. I think possibly 3 years ago, we may have brought this story up. I'm not sure if we did, but it's an update if we did. Okay. Otherwise, hey, enjoy, everybody. Yeah.
It's not like you guys remember any better than we do.
He was outed as being on Grindr.
Oh,
a lot. That's
the gay pickup site.
Yeah,
for those of you who don't.
Correct. These are things I just assume everybody knows what Grindr is, but
we've talked about it several times on the show, but
that does probably need to be explained. It's an app on your phone, and it sort of shows not where the gay people are, but how close the gay people are to you. Right. And you can put a little picture. Some of them are, as you would expect, not necessarily faces. And people get on it for different reasons. Some want to meet up and generally want to meet. I think most kind of want to hook up. That's what it's known for. So yeah, the data that was released, that was acquired, I guess, by an online newsletter called Pillar, which covers the Catholic Church. They were the ones who sort of first reported on this. They got their hands on some data that actually had kind of gone to some other organization that sort of analyzed it, and I think then they gave it to Pillar. But they were the first to report upon it and get the word out. This guy was being a big old hypocrite and getting on there and trying to hook up with some boys, as you do. And you know what? It's not nice to be outed, but if you are one of the top Catholic bishops in the country, I don't feel bad for you if you are, right? I think there's a standard here. That's outing somebody that is just going about living their life, right, is bad. You don't do that.
Unacceptable.
Totally, completely unacceptable. So his lawyer, okay, let me back up just slightly. He is suing Grindr at this point. This is the update to the story. Okay. He is suing them. I don't know if the amount of the suit has been disclosed, but they had initially asked for a $5 million settlement. Grindr said no, and now they are suing. His attorney, he says his client was publicly outed as gay as a result of his data being released. To have that decision forced out of your hands and into the public realm is reprehensible. And I think in most cases it is, but I think for Catholic priests who are, let's just remind ourselves what Catholic priests are maybe not supposed to do.
Right.
If any of you have missed these details about Catholic priests, they are supposed to be celibate, right?
Yeah.
They're not supposed to be engaging in sex outside.
Yeah, no sex whatsoever.
No sex whatsoever. And they, of course, this is a pretty conservative organization, and they have some expectations of their priests, and which is to keep it about on the DL, right?
Yeah.
And so when it came out that he was presumably hooking up, he was fired from his position. And according again to his lawyer, he's been having a difficult time, trying to get back on his feet. And is suffering from shame and embarrassment. Well, okay.
Sue the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
For the shame and embarrassment.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's who's responsible for that part.
Yeah. You didn't learn shame from getting on Grindr.
No.
You learned shame from your Catholic upbringing.
Yeah. And I think the point that you were making is that if you're just living your life, even if you are going against your own sort of code of ethics or whatever, you still don't need to be outed. If you're outing somebody,
correct,
is a horrible thing to do.
Absolutely.
But if you are part of an organization or a group or you are a person in power and you are actively harming other gay people, you are actively working against the rights and interests of the group that you are secretly a part of.
Yeah. Yep.
Then that's the level of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
You have to be really high up in that in that hierarchy to make it okay.
Yeah.
But at that point, that's what makes it okay.
Yeah. You're some dude, as much as we might find this reprehensible, you're just some dude who's in a heterosexual marriage and you're using this app to hook up, right?
Yeah. It's not great.
That's probably not a great situation.
It's not acceptable to do to the wife. It's not,
there's so much that's wrong there. That guy still doesn't deserve it. Right.
Doesn't deserve to be outed.
Monsignor Jeffrey Burrell absolutely deserved it.
Fuck that guy.
Absolutely. Also because apparently the terms and conditions and whatnot, that when you download the app, it does say that they might sell the data.
Right.
Which I have to say, Grindr.
Yeah, that one's rough.
That one's kind of shitty, Grindr. That one's really fucking shitty. And I actually might have a little bit of a problem with that. Apparently, there was a lawsuit filed back in April that alleged the app had shared users' HIV statuses. Oh. And the company's former chief privacy officer, Rhonda Jesus, said last year that he was fired after he raised concerns about Grindr's privacy.
Oh God.
He was the chief privacy officer. So,
that's a bit
I do think that
spooky.
Grindr has a little bit of a problem. And maybe there is some good that can come out of this, but do I feel bad for this guy? And do I think he deserves $5 million for the hassle? No. Yep.
You get $5 and a peanut butter sandwich.
And maybe Grindr can change its policy.
Grindr needs to change its policy.
I do kind of.
It would be kind of lame if his was the lawsuit that actually got that going.
Yeah, but who else is going to do it? Also, kind of crazy that this guy wants to keep it out into the public eye.
Right?
Like he's been given some parish position somewhere. He wasn't
oh, for real?
Yeah. So he's
still working for the church.
He's still working for the Catholic Church, and so you would think that he would just drop it and move along because obviously this is going to get press coverage. But he's not dropping it. Like if he had left the church and was trying to retire, okay, I see what you're up to.
Yeah.
But or whatever.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm going to take us literally to the other side of the earth, to India.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Where right now, as we speak, there is a pilgrimage taking place. An estimated 30 million Hindu pilgrims
holy cow
are currently traveling. They make this pilgrimage to and people who do the whole thing walk over 60 miles.
Okay.
To the Ganges River, Ganga. And they, they take a holy dip and they collect some water to bring home, and stuff.
And the receptacle that they put the water in sort of dissolves from the toxicity
because
the pH of the water is completely off. And
if the first 3 or 4 people go in and they come out and all of their clothes have burned off of them, then the rest go, oh, maybe not.
We'll do the holy dip next year.
Yeah. Anywho, as you can imagine, under normal circumstances, this is sort of Black Friday for the people who own shops along that route. You know what I mean? Like if you have if you have wares to sell, especially some provisions or whatever, this is a boon. So Vakil Ahmad, who's the owner of what once was called Chai Lovers Point, which was just a tea shop.
Nice.
Along the way.
Yeah.
That's like, that's the week right there. Except that we live in, or rather, Vakil lives in shitty times in India. And, I think we can safely take India as a warning to us here in the United States about the dangers of fundamentalism and religious nationalism, because right now India is under the thumb of Narendra Modi and his Hindu nationalist party, and poor Vakil and his tea shop had to change their name. Were forced by police to change the name of the tea shop. So he changed the name to Vakil Sahab Tea Stall.
Okay.
Why? Well, Vakil Sahab, also spelled, which can also be said Sahib. In Hindi it means sir, but it's a loan word from Arabic. And the reason that he tried to do that is because the police are making him change it so that it is clear that he is Muslim, because they don't want anybody to not know which of the vendors along that route are Muslim. Now now that wasn't enough for them. They actually made him change it to his name, Vakil Ahmad Tea Stall.
Oh my God.
Giving away that he's Muslim and putting him in literal physical danger. These people, these holy pilgrims, are now beating up Muslims along the way, vandalizing and trashing people's businesses.
What?
It is a nightmare.
Holy crap.
And it's all basically approved of, and there are videos of people getting, just completely attacking other people with cops there present and not intervening.
Good Lord.
Because the Hindu nationalists want this.
All right.
They like this.
All right.
And so, these a lot of these businesses that normally this would, if it weren't a nightmare time in their country's history, they would be making a fortune.
Right.
Now they are closing. They're shuttering their businesses for half a month, for 2 weeks, which is, I don't know if you know this, these people are barely scraping by.
Yeah.
They make $80 in a month.
Good.
They can't afford to have any of that go missing, let alone half.
Right. And let alone going without the big, little boost that they get every year. but they can't. Assuredly, they count on it.
Yeah, it's Christmas for them.
Yeah,
and they have to miss. Not only do they have to like not make money, they're risking, and apparently, they're risking having their stuff destroyed.
Good Lord.
These pilgrims are, they're not. There are restrictions on what they're supposed to eat. Obviously, they're Hindus, so they don't eat beef.
Sure.
So one of the reasons that they'll attack someone is if they're perceived to be selling or consuming beef in any way.
Eesh.
But there's also other stuff that they don't. I guess they don't do garlic. They don't do a few things. And if they smell that, they feel totally fine. These good pilgrims.
Wow.
Feel totally fine.
Don't come to my house.
Right.
Plenty of garlic and beef here. So
yeah.
Wow.
So
Jesus Christ.
We have this idea, before you and I started this show many, many, many years ago, I had this idea that the Abrahamic religions were kind of fighty. They liked to fight and kind of like violent a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But then there were other religions that were like peaceful, like Buddhism or Hinduism or whatever. And now it turns out, oh no, it's just you put you take people, and people, a percentage of any group of people want to fight. That's always just going to be a thing. And it doesn't matter what the belief system is. They're gonna find a reason.
My God.
So
these trying times.
Yeah. And chaying times.
You could have not done that.
Yeah, I could have. But I did it.
All right, Dan. Well, over in Egypt, got a little news story for you.
Okay.
There's a new movie coming out called The Atheist.
Oh,
and
I'm excited. That sounds fun.
Conservative Muslims are not happy, Dan.
Oh no!
They're calling for a boycott.
Really...
This film, it made it through the censors. It was finished 2 years ago, and it's just sort of been sitting around since then. And I guess there's speculation as to why it hasn't been released yet, but nothing concrete. But the local film viewing audience is none too pleased. It's by a controversial author by the name of Ibrahim Issa, who is a secularist, and he's outspoken. And which already I'm just like, Jesus Christ, man. And now he's making a movie called The
Are you
Atheist.
Okay, buddy?
And literally, that is the literal translation of the title from Arabic. I believe it's meant to be obviously provocative. But I watched the trailer, and while it was in Arabic and with no subtitles, I have to say it appears to be a slow-paced film. Nothing... And I didn't see anything overly provocative in the trailer, but again, hard to parse out what's going on in a movie trailer if you don't understand the language, right?
Right.
Because of how they're sort of edited and whatnot. But but apparently, what people have been able to gather is that the film depicts how experiences of religious fanaticism can trigger converse reactions, such as atheism or opposition to religion. And so it's the story of this young dude who grows up in an extremist environment, and he starts having doubts about his faith, and he eventually turns into a non-believer, and then his father and fellow fanatics force him to atone for his sin or else face imminent death as a punishment. And that's the story, and people are outraged. How dare you depict?
Can I tell you what I was hoping it would be?
What's that?
Like I was hoping it was going to be an anti-atheist screed.
Oh no!
Like it was going to be like the atheist who is the devil and blah blah blah.
Well, what I find, and it's definitely not. I mean, if it had been that, I think the conservative Muslims would be stoked about it. I mean, why not? I mean, they would get to see this atheist's comeuppance and get what he deserves.
They'd be all
according to them, and they'd be feeling really good about themselves, and the movie would probably win the Egyptian Oscars.
Right.
But no. But what I take from that description, I don't know if you're hearing it, Dan, is that because it's sort of a cautionary tale about extremism, it's like, hey, like there's a moderate path here too, guys. Yeah. Right. Like, I don't know if that's the point of the film, but I'm kind of hearing something in there of like, you are creating atheists. You are creating people who are against religion, right? Yeah. By being such assholes, right? And while I don't necessarily agree that like with that underlying premise, because I think atheists sort of find atheism on their own a lot of times. But I do agree that with the idea that like if you belong to kind of shitty religion and it makes life really shitty for you, then you might start asking questions, right?
Looking elsewhere.
Yeah, and just being like, God, this thing fucking sucks, right? And it's like this lesson that fundamentalists just can't ever learn or hear of like, hey, we could actually be nice. We could, sort of attract people with our goodness, right? And our kindness and our generosity and our blah blah blah, right? They don't see that, and it boggles my mind that they wouldn't want to just be nice, right?
I feel like nice doesn't sell the way you think it does. I feel like
I love nice.
I love nice too. I'm just saying you don't control people well with nice. If you want to control people and maintain your power structure, which is all clergy wants to do, you definitely gotta go mean. You gotta be scared. You gotta have enemies. You gotta line everybody up against the bad guys.
What a bleak worldview you have, Dan.
What? I'm sorry. Is that not what literally our entire podcast has been about for 12 years? I'm pretty sure that's the entirety of our show.
Bleak, Dan. I don't know if I can support this.
Well, I feel like I'm nice. I encourage others to be nice. It's just not going to get your religion doing anything. You'll never get to Osteen status.
No, that's true. I mean, if we came out swinging, maybe we could. I don't know.
Yeah, we're too nice.
We're too nice.
It's why we're not.
That's why we're the little podcast that could. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That, like we just keep chugging along.
Yeah.
We should be mean, Dan.
We should be mean.
We should
like. I mean, I feel like you were just mean to me a little bit. So
I was trying to like be funny.
I know.
And clearly, you thought I was actually saying you had a bleak outlook that was bleaker than mine. That I was judging your worldview somehow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how the people interpreted that. So I hope you're proud.
There was a little bit of a pause. I was like, oh shit, did that not land?
Anywho, I'm gonna move us on. I'm gonna take us to the UK, the UK, if you will. Now, okay, I'm gonna take it down a little bit.
Oh,
because just a week and a half ago or something, there was a tragedy there where several people were attacked and stabbed to death. 3 children were killed. 8 other children and a couple of adults were attacked, were stabbed. So like that is tragic.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tragedy gets worse. The response, they decided to go, let's make it worse. And what has happened is that a whole bunch of people, online social media is not good. It's a net bad. I think in general.
Yeah. Agreed.
And what one of the things that happened was rando people just started declaring, hey, this guy was a Muslim.
Oh.
And fanned the sort of xenophobic, anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim flames that are burning in a bunch of people. Certainly not the majority of people in the UK, but enough people that while one group of people were gathered to have a peaceful vigil, another group of people decided to start a riot at the local mosque. And went and attacked. There were some people that had to lock themselves in the mosque and wait it out, which was apparently terrifying.
Jeez,
and it continues. The police have revealed some information about the attacker, but because the attacker was underage, they decided not to release his name.
Okay. Yeah.
He was born in the UK, but to immigrant parents, and so people started speculating again, and just claimed that he was Muslim again.
But what? Like C of E? Were they did they go burn down a church?
No. They just So
that would have been an interesting turn, right? Right in the middle of the riots, they're like, no. Yeah. He was Church of England.
He was a devoted member of the Church of England.
And they just turn and they run to Westminster Abbey or something.
Something tells me no. Something tells me that had the tables been turned, had it immediately come out that he was a believing member of the Church of England, no churches would have been destroyed or even attacked. But now it's there are many Muslims in that area, which is sort of I think it's up by Liverpool.
Oh, okay.
But many Muslims in that area are fearing for their lives.
I bet.
At this time. So,
and no matter your opinion of Islam, which by the way, I think Islam is shit.
Of course it is.
And one of the shittier of the shit religions. It's Muslims are people.
That almost to a person.
Yeah.
Almost down
Muslims
to
are
every
people.
Single one.
So
and
maybe
guess what we don't do?
Yeah.
We don't attack people.
Yeah, that's not nice.
We don't attack especially we don't attack rando people because a different person did something.
Yeah. It's fucking my God, seriously, did they have pitchforks too?
Right? Or are they just football hooligans? Were they singing songs? That's how you know.
Oh, UK.
Yeah.
Our the image that we have of you guys.
I mean,
it's just hooligans.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You definitely have a hooligan problem. But that's some rough stuff over there.
Yeah, that's bullshit. All right, Dan. Tulsa. Beautiful Tulsa.
Your home turf-ish.
Yeah. Close by. Nearby. Yeah, they have a mayoral race going on currently.
Who wouldn't want to be mayor of Tulsa?
I'm sure it's a cushy position. It's probably great. You gotta be the mayor. Wouldn't you want to be the mayor of something?
Oh,
given the opportunities.
One of my favorite things is I love the show Bob's Burgers. And every now and then on episodes of Bob's Burgers, Linda Belcher will be like, "Oh, it's the mayor. Hi, mayor." She just loves the mayor. She is just obsessed. She's so excited anytime she sees the mayor.
That's funny. Brent Van Norman wants to be the mayor of Tulsa. He's a conservative businessman. And I guess right-wing Christian nationalist, perhaps, maybe. I don't know. He definitely spoke at one of those churches where he said things like, first he sort of professed his love of Proverbs 14's line that says, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people. And he declared that righteousness also exalts a city. And then he went on to Proverbs 29 to say that when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. And okay, all right, whatever. But then he went on and he said, my number one qualification for being mayor of Tulsa is that I am an unashamed follower of Jesus.
What?
Really?
That's his qualification.
Really? Huh. All right. Well,
I don't feel like that's a thing.
I'm sorry, Tulsa. You're not getting better.
Well, he hasn't won.
He hasn't won. He says, I think that if you go back and study the history of our nation and our founding, the pulpit was the primary tool during the Revolutionary War for communicating to people. I could have also continued and said, at least that's what I saw on HBO when I watched John Adams. Yeah, he's one of those. No. Apparently, the local newspaper, the Tulsa World, questioned him about these comments, and he tried to backtrack a little, which is telling, I guess. He said, No. My point would be that I think people are informed by Christian values, that those people make good public servants and they have a servant's heart. And so I would hope that as a result of my value system in which I care for humanity and I try to treat people with equality, I try to treat people with love, and there's a moral foundation that gives me that hope people would appreciate, and that I hope that my motives are pure in what I'm doing and I'm not doing them for the wrong reason. So yeah.
The thing I think about when I think of Christians who come to power is that they have a servant's heart.
Dan.
When I think of Christians in power, that's definitely what I think of. How much they're there to serve.
That's what they think, though. They just love serving their fellow man and forcing them to pray and do things that
I think most of the ones that I'm thinking of love to serve their fellow wealthy man. That's the most important thing.
Indeed. So,
and clearly, man is not an accidental or.
Like, sure.
That's so.
Clearly, Dan. But yeah, these are the times we live in, where this whole Christian nationalist thing. They're feeling pretty open, right? About saying the parts that they never would have really said before, right?
It's not the quiet parts out loud anymore. They only have out loud parts now,
which is great. This is wonderful, right? I think that as long as we can avoid actually falling into Christian nationalism as having them be in power, I think it's great that there is at least a moment where we get to all be afraid, right? And maybe, just maybe, if we can get to the other side of this and we never actually fall into it, maybe we'll all go, we need to shore things up a little bit around here.
Yeah. Nobody can be like, they're not going to try and take away abortion rights. Right. That's been around for 50 years. It's fine.
It's established law.
They're not gonna try to take away gay rights. They would look.
Could you imagine the riots?
It's just talk.
The gays would go crazy. You take gay marriage from me, I might go crazy.
Well, yeah.
You might just make me fucking go crazy.
Well, I'll be right there with you.
Yeah,
we'll be crazy. We'll be crazying together, arm in arm. All right. Speaking of crazy, I'm going to close this out. This one comes to us from a small Greek island. It's not really an island. It's a peninsula, but it looks like an island. Mount Athos in northern Greece is kind of amazing. It's this little peninsula that is overrun with monasteries. They have 20 Orthodox monasteries on this one little peninsula, and it's kind of nutty. It's very interesting. I went and sort of Google mapped it, and as you scroll around, it's like monastery. There's 20 monasteries and like 2,000 monks in total.
Wow.
On this little peninsula.
Huh. What do these monks do?
Do
they make anything?
Whatever.
Do they add some value to the?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I don't get the sense.
I like the ones that make beer. Those are the monks I like.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Give something back to the community. There's one particular monastery that I will say is gorgeous. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's the Esphigmenou Monastery.
Yeah, okay.
And it's this huge, like, fortress of a thing. And it like from the 10th century or something like that.
Okay.
Very old.
Cool.
Very, very pretty. Right on the sea. It's lovely. And since I think 2002 or 2005, it has been occupied by rebel monks.
Okay. What form does that take?
Well, here's the thing. In around 2002, the Greek Orthodox Church decided to the ecumenical patriarchate decided to switch to the Julian calendar. I don't know if people know this, but for the longest time, Orthodox held to their own calendar.
Oh my God.
And Christmas was on a different day, and all this different stuff happened, and
it made them special, Dan.
Yeah,
they were different.
Yeah,
it's important.
But it turns out that like this is a small world now. And you want everybody to be basically on the same page.
Could they not set their iPhones to their calendar?
Oh, right.
Was that the problem?
No. I mean, not back in 2002.
Yeah. Okay. No phones. No iPhones.
But who knows when their Y2K hit? You know what I mean? You can't even tell.
Is that why they switched calendars?
Something like that. Anyway, this switch, among a few other sort of liberalizing things, infuriated the 200 or so monks that lived there. And they skizzed. They decided they were going to hold on to the real orthodoxy, and it was stay Orthodox or die, and they occupied the building. And so when the patriarchate decided to deem them schismatics, which, by the way, if that's not a band name somewhere,
the Schismatics,
it needs to be.
Okay.
I guess there's a band called the Spasmatics, and you don't want to associate yourself.
Maybe they could be a cover band.
There's actually a series of bands, like a whole bunch of bands. It's a franchise band thing that they do. Anyway,
that's bullshit.
That's a thing for another day. Anyway, literally, this monastery, which according to Greek law is owned by, or should be owned by, the Orthodox Church. These people have been occupying it. These monks have been occupying it.
Oh boy.
Since 2005, and apparently They're fucking armed to the teeth. There are reports that they have guns, that they have explosives.
What?
So it's nutty. They're dickheads, by the way. I want to root for the schismatics that are holed up in their thing, but it turns out that they're closer to like Ammon Bundy than they are like a fun little separationist thing. And they're literally like awful. One of their head guys at one point called for a Greek Hitler.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're bad. They're shitty. So
I don't want their beer.
No, you don't.
Whatever beer they brew, I don't want it.
So it's been all of this time and nobody's been able to figure out how to, they don't want this to end in a firefight. You know what I mean? Like they don't want this to end in like bloodshed.
Yeah.
But they've been basically like occupying this for 20 years. So
are they just going to let them like grow old and die?
Well, no, what's happened is that now the Greek police have requested, because here's the other thing. That peninsula is a special carve out in the law where it's like, it's part of Greece, but it's under the control of like the patriarchate out of Turkey.
Sure.
And so it's like, it's not politically easy. Nothing. So the Greek police have now requested permission to go in with a heavy force for a significant amount of time. And that's key because it looks like what they're trying to do is basically cut off any supplies to them.
Okay.
And starve them out.
Oh God.
Which then the monks inside have compared that to sort of the Gaza thing. Mm-hmm. And now it's just so fucking complicated. And it's just, but they do have like probably the best monastery on the island, and that's not fair.
And the best calendar.
And they are rocking the old calendar. Like
what, Gregorian? What's the calendar that they're still on?
I don't know.
Come on.
Yeah, we'll say it's the Gregorian one. It's the Greco one.
Okay. All right.
Anyway.
Well, they sound like, okay, you say they're dickheads, but like I like their calendar. They got some moxie, right? They're
definitely
standing up for their ways.
Yeah. They're bad, stupid.
Yeah.
And it's such like,
I want to. I'm with you. I wish they weren't dicks because
right?
I'm like, I love the idea of some monks, being,
if only they had gone the other way. If only they had all been like, because we do every now and then get reports of an entire group of nuns that are like, no, this is we need to be 100 times more liberal than the church is, and then they occupy their nunnery, and everybody's like, ah.
Yeah, if this was about climate change or something, right? Like,
right?
Great. Oh God, yeah. I'd be rooting for them, but yeah.
Or they're like, we like gay people, and we're not going to stand for it. And then, nope, it's the wrong direction. So I don't know. We may hear more about this later. We'll see. We'll see how this all plans out. But everybody's gearing up.
All right.
Well, friends, if you would like to comment on this or any of the things we've talked about so far, please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. We'd love to hear from you. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up.
Well, Frank, we have been written into and called into.
Ooh.
And so let's dive into that. First of all, last week you will recall that we talked about an atheist symbol. The idea of, do we need a symbol? We were of multiple minds about the whole thing, but like, we also said, if you got ideas, we want to hear it. We want to hear what your ideas are for for a symbol for us.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, people responded.
Oh, great.
Pretty much all men, by the way. Ladies, where are you at? Are you writing in? We want to hear your voices too. Anyway, so here's what Scott had to say first. We'll launch in with Scott, who said, "Hi, Frank and Dan. Your last podcast on symbols for atheism had me rolling my eyes into the back of my head.
Oh, no.
We as atheists should realize that we don't need a symbol. Symbols have always denoted a belief system. Atheists should not have a belief system. Atheists should rely on facts and rational thought to guide them through this life. Using a symbol puts us squarely back in the cycle of putting faith into an object." I disagree with this point. I think, be really careful about this whole line that we use rational thought and facts, because, do we love to say that, and is that not how human beings work? I mean, I love rational thought and I love facts, and yet we all have big biases. So just be really careful about that, and watch for your own biases, because I guarantee you have them. And none of us are as... No, this is just all of us. None of us are as good. Here's the problem. I've seen so many atheists, and I'm not saying this is about Scott. I'm saying this, like, I've seen this out in the world, where atheists think and are very smug and snooty about being the rational one. And some of the time, and a decent percentage of the time, they're not being rational, or they're taking their set of facts into consideration and not allowing for other facts or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be, I think we need to be more honest with ourselves about that.
Okay, fair enough. Because we're still human beings.
We're still humans.
We're not Vulcans. We're not the Vulcans of the human race.
No, we're not. And we these biases are literally DNA encoded into us, and we can fight it, and we should fight it. But let's all be careful and wary about thinking that we're more rational than anyone else.
Yeah. But here's a vote against an atheist symbol.
An atheist symbol. And like I said, I was kind of against the idea of an atheist symbol, because I don't like the idea that when humans group themselves, they tend to do in-group and out-group, and then they start to get tribal, and that tends to be bad. But it's also kind of what we do. Again, probably encoded into our DNA to have small or to have groups, and to have in-group, out-group mentality. So I don't know. We got to work with what we got on some level.
All right.
Anyway, we had a whole bunch of people write in with suggestions about what the symbol could be. Friend of the show, Robert, wrote in and said, "Hey, first, just really basic, straightforward iconography. I think keeping it as basic as possible is key, but that's just a first thought. If I come up with anything more elaborate, I'll send it over, but this was my basic instinct." And Robert sent in a few ideas, like very simple shapes, just a circle, or a line and a bar, a line, sort of a bar, horizontal, or he sent in a very nice 3-pointed shape that's sort of 3 triangles pointing away from each other. He wasn't the only one that came up with a circle. I will say this. Douglas wrote in and said, Good afternoon, fellas. I can't help but feel like a simple circle is the best possible symbol for atheism. It's a symbol of nothing. I would rock a circle on a chain in a second.
Oh, like a zero, basically.
Yeah.
Right. How was I missing that? Okay.
It's a zero. It's also like, it's like...
Well, what about like the null, right?
Isn't
that what you call the zero with the line through it?
I like the circle, the empty circle, and I like it to be a circle rather than a zero, which is usually elliptical or oval.
Okay.
Because it also is like, it's almost like a picture frame without a picture in it. You know what I mean? Like it's...
you get to put what you want in it.
Yeah. But it doesn't have like a specific picture, like a god or whatever.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's just nothing.
Yeah. So there's that.
Good. I like that.
Gregory proposed the asterisk.
Oh.
He said it can be said to represent everything since it's the wild card character in text searches. Mm-hmm. It's also got the little star meaning, which seems like a nice sciencey alternative to the mythical Sky Daddy. Mm-hmm. But really, it's literally just a cross with an X through it.
Okay.
Okay.
So
that part felt a little aggro to me.
Yeah, that is a little, but it also, I can't look at an asterisk and not think of Kurt Vonnegut's asshole drawing. Have you seen that? Cannot. I've never been able to not see that after. Anyway, if you don't know what I'm talking about, everybody, just type in Kurt Vonnegut asterisk and you'll find out.
There you go. Also, doesn't Walmart have an asterisk, basically?
They got
a little star
it's like a
thing
6-pointed something or other, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
know.
5-pointed. I can't remember how many. But yeah, it's
but I like the idea. It's asterisk is cute.
That's cute. I like that. I mean, because after the show, we started talking about emojis, and the final one that you sent me, because I was like, we should just co-opt an emoji, right?
Yeah, I love that.
And you sent the hole in the ground one, which essentially is this whole circle concept, right?
Yeah,
where it's just like it's just a hole. It's ultimately it's kind of probably a little empty, and that's cool and that's great and whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I have a voicemail.
Oh, okay.
And this is Pedro, he's called in before, and he's sort of sharing some. He's on this topic, kind of talks about how when he wears symbols that he likes and he responds to, he likes how other people are responding to it. I guess effectively is what's going on here.
Hey, Frank and Dan, this is Pedro from Oklahoma City again. I was calling to talk about two things. I just wanted to say out loud, fuck Ryan Walters, the superintendent for Oklahoma Public School. He sucks. Anyway, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was about the atheist symbol. I think that maybe you guys are overthinking this, but I personally believe that we already have a symbol that we could use, and that is the rainbow. The reason why I say this is because it triggers all these crazies, and then also it makes other people that think like you and also love human beings and believes that human beings should be left alone to be human beings, they get at ease once they see that you have something. I work for a company that has a bunch of knuckleheads that are conservative shitbags, and I wear a bracelet that has free mom hugs on it, and then it's a rainbow. And every time that these people see it, they just get very uncomfortable with it. And I think that signals to them that, you know, who I am as a person. They probably believe that I'm, you know, gay or something, which I'm not. But just the fact that they see that it identifies me as a person that, you know, loves all human beings, and I'm not a shitbag. Or at least I like to believe so. But anyway, thanks for the show. I appreciate y'all. Keep the shows coming. Love them. Thank you.
Well, I mean, that's the other possible approach, is instead of my idea of of trying to be, you know, welcoming and not poke the bear and not go tribal, we could just go all the way in the other direction.
Yeah. Why not? Right. I mean, if that's what you like, clearly Pedro likes standing up for what he believes in.
Yes.
Right. And he's not afraid of like putting that on display. And I think that's great. We need that. Like, I mean, that in essence, that is part of the original idea, which is like, wearing something that you can wear proudly and say who you are without having to go around introducing yourself to everybody. Oh, hi, I'm Frank. I'm an atheist, right?
Right.
Because otherwise,
which is how Frank introduces himself.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going great so far. But yeah, I don't know. Like, people have different motivations, I guess, is what I'm kind of leading to for making these statements. And so, and I think that's great. So,
and there's no correct way to human.
No.
I like, I personally don't like the antagonism approach. I think you look, they're already antagonistic plenty.
Yeah.
The shitbags that Pedro was talking about. I don't think we need to push that any further, but also we don't need to shy away from them.
Yeah, he's having fun. I think he's having fun, and I
think so too. I think so too. And frankly, if I were in his position, it's such a meaningless thing to just wear a little rainbow something or other, and it's such a and so like you're not actually attacking anyone. You're actually like declaring that you love people.
Yeah.
And so if they get bent out of shape about that, that's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we had other people write in. Alan suggested a scarlet letter A. I think that's kind of what the American atheists already have, really. And then Sverre, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sorry. I think it's Norwegian. Anyway, Sverre said, with regards to the atheist symbols, I always felt that the Ouroboros works. That this is the symbol of the snake eating, like in a circle, eating itself. One of the things it's supposed to symbolize is self-reliance, as in we don't need a god, we can figure this stuff out on our own. Sverre says, I see how this can be taken to mean we don't need anybody else, and thereby not seem very welcoming. But as you said, we humans are a tribal species, so I'm relying on our ability to work in groups to see us through that danger zone. I also think like the Ouroboros is I frankly don't want to associate myself with something that's eating itself. Like that doesn't seem like I don't know what all the symbolism of that is meant to be, but frankly, we do eat ourselves sometimes, as a group. Like there's a lot of infighting and that sort of thing, and that feels like that could also be symbolized by that. But it's definitely a really cool looking thing. So
yeah,
it has that advantage,
and also a circle.
A circle. So
coming back around to the circle.
Yeah, so, circles is circle taken? I don't think circle is taken. In terms of like religious groups,
just like a circle,
just circle.
I can't think of anything, but it's worth looking into.
There we go.
Are we in a position to be able to declare what this symbol is going to be?
Anybody can declare a symbol. You can just do it. So yes. We'll just tell everybody. We are gonna decide, and then
when we decide, we'll let people know.
Okay. Finally, we had one last writer in, not about this subject, but about another subject, and that is my insistence that we should turn TGIA into a religion.
Oh,
I don't have who wrote this; they didn't sign it. But,
okay.
Hey guys, though this is mostly directed at Dan. Lawyer caveat, I'm an attorney with the Washington Attorney General's office where I deal with nonprofit and charities law. I'm also the VP of the National Association of State Charity Regulators. That said, I'm writing entirely in my personal capacity and blah, 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 blah. This is not legal advice. I get it. You're a lawyer. Got it.
Okay.
But yeah, those are exactly the credentials to be able to talk about this, I presume.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, you talked about converting your business entity into a church. I get the impulse, but I'd very much advise against that. Right now, the IRS isn't doing much enforcement, and state attorneys general don't have the resources to pick up the slack. But the IRS could start doing enforcement at any time, and they can hit really hard. There's basically no statute of limitations on their civil authority. You could get hit with back taxes, penalties on back taxes, excise taxes, interest, and criminal penalties if it's considered tax fraud. It's really, really, really not worth playing around with something like this. Weirdly enough, church is not defined, but there are factors enforcement agencies consider. I doubt TGIA would meet any of them. Anyway, he says there are better ways to stage a protest, or at least ways that won't ruin you financially and potentially put you in jail.
Well, there you have it, Dan.
I think we can still pull it off.
I don't know. Like, that's some pretty
it's scary.
That's stuff I'm not going to play around with, so.
Okay. I'll start a different religion. It's fine.
Well, why don't you just start a religion?
Yeah.
Right? We don't need to turn the show into something, but it feels like, I mean, if you look into like the criteria that it takes to start a religion, maybe you just do that.
And then this podcast will be a ministry of that religion. And
I don't know that we need to tie the podcast into it, but the podcast can talk about your little religion.
All right. Well, if you would like to join my religion, you can write into us.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
Shut up. I'm a fantastic religious leader. You watch your mouth.
Everyone, you don't want it.
You're not invited. You're out.
We've already skizzed.
There's a schism.
Took exactly 10 seconds.
Listen, that's how you know it's a legitimate religion. There was already a schism.
We don't even have a holy book yet, and we've already skizzed. All right.
Yeah. All right. Do we have some folks to thank?
We do indeed, Dan. We have some new patrons on Patreon. These are people who went to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/donate, and they found an option that works for them. We have a new deacon by the name of Slate Gray.
Oh,
yeah, I love Slate Gray. That's
that
beautiful color.
That right there is a name for a sexy novel.
Slate Gray. Is it a person named Slate Gray?
Yeah, he's the handsome love interest.
Oh, great. All right. We have a new priest by the name of Larry.
Okay.
And we have a new elder by the name of Michael.
I love it.
Thank you so much to all y'all for joining up and getting the priesthood. And as always, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up.
Got some crybabies. Some crybabies, Dan. Some crybabies.
Listen, we do have crybabies, and that is what we're here to talk about. Which is to say, oof, these Christians and their persecution complexes are so they have their fishnets so in a twist right now because of, I mean, pretty much everybody has heard about the opening ceremonies for the Paris Olympics and this tableau that occurred that had these drag queens and
they're seated at a sort of a table, right? And there's one in the middle who's got like a big halo thing on, and she's very central to the whole thing. And then there are people seated off to the sides. And we watched it during, well, it wasn't live. It was the primetime rebroadcast, but nonetheless, we watched it when it first came out. And there was an initial reaction of, oh, is this, we had the same thing. It was like, is this supposed to be like a Last Supper sort of thing? And then it was like, No, because nobody's really doing the poses. It's just sort of people at a table. Like, we didn't know what it was referencing, but it didn't seem like it was, like, if it was supposed to be a Last Supper, it wasn't a very good one. Right. And that's sort of where we were at with it. And then as it continues on, it's like, no, I don't know what this is, but it's not the Last Supper.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, if you thought it was the Last Supper, then suddenly Papa Smurf pops out and you've got the, like, it's like, what the hell is happening?
Right.
Now, I will admit, I don't think that they were very clever about, like, being obvious what cultural reference they're making here. I think Dionysus and the Feast of the Gods and all these things, not common knowledge to everyone around the world.
Yeah, the article that I saw explaining it was like, it obviously was Dionysus, and I'm like, I don't know any sentence can actually run with those words, right? Like, I don't think for the general population.
You know how we all know everything about Dionysus?
Like, this is not going to be a thing.
God of like wine and revelry. You know how we all know literally everything about that guy, including he's not even blue. Right. Why was he blue? What's happening?
I don't know. It was crazy.
Like, I think it was badly done in that sense. Like we don't know what you're referencing.
I do, in my recollection of it, and I don't think this is true, but I remember saying during it just seems like a bacchanal to me.
Ooh, you kind of nailed it. Well done, you.
But again, I think I might have planted that memory. I'm not sure I actually thought it, but I remember the word bacchanal coming to mind at some point during the whole discussion about the whole thing. And it was just like, and because that was much more what it was. Right.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. When I saw it, the first time I saw it, and I saw it in a still photo, I did not watch the opening ceremony.
Oh, okay.
I just saw a still photo of it. And, it was about how everybody was all up in arms about this. I thought, when I first saw it, I thought, okay, that's definitely the Last Supper. And then when yeah. And then, but that was an image that didn't have the Papa Smurf character at the front and didn't blah, blah, blah. And then the more you think about it, the more you go, oh, well, wait, she's got a halo in the middle. And that Jesus actually doesn't have a halo in the Last Supper.
Yeah.
In Da Vinci's The Last Supper.
Yeah, he uses backlighting in an interesting way, but it's not a traditional halo. Yeah.
And the thing about it is that, like, the halo was borrowed into Christianity from Greek iconography.
No, it wasn't. Was it?
Yeah, absolutely it was.
Wow.
So, like, they had it first. And
stupid Christians.
And the other thing is that, like, for centuries, the image of the tableau, meaning people around a table, frequently just on one side of the table facing the audience, that's been a very common artistic theme.
That's true, actually, isn't it?
So, like, it's easy once you sort of start seeing, once you start understanding, and especially once you see the actual source material, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. This actually was, because at first even I was skeptical. That I thought maybe they were backpedaling when they were like, it's Dionysus, it's not the Last Supper. Because here's the thing. Pop culture has done the Last Supper a bazillion times.
Yeah.
It has happened over and over. We've seen it a million times. There was a Sopranos image that was the Last Supper. Yeah. There was that everybody does the Last Supper.
Yeah.
You're making a comment on, the dumb Expendables movie did a Last Supper.
Everybody's done a Last Supper, Dan.
Everybody does a fucking Last Supper. And nobody was freaking out about it. The Simpsons did a Last Supper image.
It's in the movie MASH when the guy's about to try to kill himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a cultural icon that it's a touchstone. People like to do it. you're making a statement not about Christianity, but about, your characters and what you're doing and what, like,
you've already lost the Christians, Dan.
Right. 100%.
The moment you start understanding it, it's symbolic and it's more about the characters and their relationship. Like, they're not into that crap, Dan.
No, not at all. Well, and that's kind of the point we wanted to get to, is that the thing that they are into is that fucking mainline, straight into the vein thrill that they get when they get to feel persecuted.
Oh,
and
good.
It is the best drug they know. And so these people, they saw that and were like, "Oh yeah, daddy, give it to me." And they injected that straight into the eyeball. That was like, oh. So, which is why when it became clear, which it absolutely is obvious,
right,
that this actually was not an instance of people using the Last Supper as their icon.
Yeah.
But they, this is a bacchanal. This is Dionysus.
Mm-hmm.
They're not accepting it. They don't want to hear about it. They are absolutely, positively not going to let go of the fact that of the absolute fact that this was the Last Supper, that it was mocking Christianity, and that they are so oppressed. Yes.
They love it. It's good. They and outrage is a hard thing to give up, Dan. Like, once you've become outraged, now you have to sort of admit that you were wrong to move on from your outrage. Right. And that's also something they don't do great, admit that they're wrong about
face
anything.
Their own embarrassment about anything or process any of their own feelings. Yeah, they're not awesome with that. Nothing in their worldview gives them any background to do that.
But I do also have to say that, like, the announcers, the hosts of the Olympics, could have been given because I assume they either were not given much information by the organizers of like what was coming up, or at least NBC was literally not announcing what anything was that we were seeing. Right. And so like, if they had just said, "Oh, this is a Greek, tableau, depicting Dionysus and blah, 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 and da, da, da." Like, if they had just said that in the moment, people would have been like, "Oh, well, I guess it doesn't really. I thought it looked like the Last Supper, but I guess it's not. It's Dionysus."
Pop up the image of the painting Feast of the Gods.
Yeah.
Like, have that at the ready.
Yeah.
Put that into a corner so that we get the reference.
But they weren't announcing anything when that like there was like a metal band at one point, and we were trying to like figure out like, what is going on here, right? Like, they never said the name of the band. It's actually apparently a known entity in France. And it was one hell of a scene. And they just weren't giving us anything, right? But when we cut to the Parade of Nations, they were like, "Oh, and now here's Monrovia," but whenever it was like the actual like show part of the opening ceremonies, they were just like totally quiet. And I actually had a big beef with NBC's coverage of
NBC, get it together,
of the opening ceremonies. Like, I was just like, fuck, these people, they can't get the Olympics right, in my opinion.
I think they've learned a valuable lesson this time. I don't think they were expecting it. But woof.
Know what's coming and have your fucking announcers tell us what it is.
Yeah, get boned up.
Yeah.
Because this turned into a shit show.
Yeah.
I think that the thing, the salient point really is just how do people react when they are when they've had a snap judgment about something, and that turns out not to be true.
Yeah.
Human beings are interesting. We're fascinating critters, and I think our brains jump so quickly to reasons why we need to double down. Like doubling down is the impulse of the human being. As a matter of fact, there's an interesting, I just saw a thing about a study that I'm going to relate it to this, even though it's kind of very, very different. But I just saw a thing about a study where for some reason, sometimes a medical intervention is needed in the brain, and they need to basically sever the two halves of a person's brain.
Yeah.
And when that happens, the two halves aren't talking to each other.
Yeah.
And you basically, like, a whole bunch of fascinating stuff is possible at that point, including having two kind of different personalities. But one of the things that you can do then is kind of talk to one half of the brain and hide the information from another half of the brain. And then talk to the person. And so one of the experiments that they did, if you show an image to the right eye, that goes to the left side of the brain. And if you show an image to the left eye, it goes to the right side of the brain. And I think language lives on the left side of the brain. And so what happens is these experimenters showed like sort of body images to the left eye so that the right side of the brain would I might be getting these mixed up. I'm not sure, but you get the point. So they show this body image to the right side of the brain, and the right side of the brain giggles. The person laughs. And then they say, hey, why did you laugh? And the left side of the brain, the one that can talk, doesn't know why they laughed.
Oh, wow.
And instantly it makes up a reason. It's not the right reason, but instantly it makes one up, and they just say it.
Really?
They'll be like, oh, you made a funny face. Or, oh, I thought of a memory, or whatever.
Weird.
And we know, so like, that's how instinctive, how like we as human beings are about sort of protecting ourself by, we will make shit up and lie and not even know we're doing it, rather than just say, I don't know. So I think that relates in the sense of like, once we've said a thing, once we've sort of locked down on a thing, especially if it's like, I'm outraged, we don't want to suffer the embarrassment of saying, oh, you know what? I was wrong. I'm sorry. And so we immediately jump to, you're lying about like, or whatever it is. Anyway, I love it when people say, oh, I was wrong. That is one of the more impressive things I ever see a human do, is when they can actually take responsibility, say they were wrong, retract what they said. Like that is a higher order function for human beings. And so it's always impressive when I see it. And guess who I haven't been seeing it from?
Who?
Any of the outraged Christians.
Well, there you have it, Dan.
Voila! Christians are human. So there you go. If you would like to take us to task about anything, or let us know your view on this or any of the things that we've talked about, person at home, we would love to hear from you. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. We'd love to hear your voice. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah. Hey, to support the show, go to thankgodimatheist.com/donate.
This episode was edited by Roger Gowdy, and music was provided by the Red Rock Hot Club and Gordon Johnston.
Thanks, y'all, for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank God I'm Atheist is a production of TGIA Media, LLC, copyright 2024, all rights reserved.